Hey everybody, it's Chris Crow back again today to do another tactical perspective toy review on number 149 of G.I. Joe's classified series. I am showing you Dial Tone today, alright? Third of the three that were at GameStop for me yesterday. Of course, yeah, I've already done the reviews on Xandar and on the Saw Vipers. If you've seen those reviews, then you knew this one was coming today. But this was one I was really looking forward to because I had a special memory involving Dial Tone when I was a kid. And he was one of my favorite figures when I was a kid. And I have no idea why. Well, I do have an idea why, but I can't really put the reason why it so resonated so strongly with me. But I am looking at a character who got modernized in a very strange way, and I understood the Hasbro puzzle of how to take Dial Tone into the new world of Joe Classified on the 6-inch. We have a lot of modernization going on this, on some obsolete old ideas. But what we've resulted in is a very interesting character. I'm going to take a little bit of a deep dive showing you guys all the things that piqued my interest about this radio operator for Joe, who will now help Breaker manage the load that his helmet can't seem to take care of and a repaint probably won't fix. So let's get him over onto the turntable, and we're going to do the full tactical perspective treatment. We'll have a look at the box. We'll talk about the file card, which is the holy Bible as far as your Joe collection as I see it here on the tactical perspective. Then we'll give them a head-to-toe breakdown, have a look at the kit as well, and then give them a play grade, tack grade, and a je ne sais quoi grade, which is just French-Canadian for I don't know what. All right, so if you're down with that, then stick around. We're going to go over here. We're going to do all that on the turntable, and hopefully I bring something new to the table on a Dial Tone review for you. If you like my tactical perspectives or any of the other review-based shows that I do on here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Really help us out as I'm trying to grow the channel for this year. Thanks very much, and see you over at the table. All right, so if your age is 4 and up, you can already read this box well enough. But if you're not, then I'm going to read this box out too. Just give you a rundown what we got. We got that carbon fiber fakeness going on there. Plastic window packaging so you can get your piece count. Do your own quality control and insurances before you pick this thing up. The Hasbro logo down in the corner. It is number 149 in the series, and you got your Joe icon on the top. Primary combat functions, or these little icons down here, telling you what our friend Dial Tone is qualified. You're going to have to look these up elsewhere because I know the QR code will not serve you well for getting any information on this character. It hasn't in the past and it doesn't right now. On the back, we've got our action shot of Dial Tone in his great stance looking over his rifle, possibly through his cell phone. He's got his communicator in the downward position, so his mic, so he can speak into the comms mic, but he also has a secondary mic we're going to learn about later. They want you to pay attention to those patches on his sleeve and the unique features of his science fiction-y backpack of comms goodness there. We got Leatherneck in the background there. And some sort of downed device. It looks like some sort of satellite component or something, or part of a larger orbital base that's been crashed downward to the ground. Anyways, it's a great little shot of Dial Tone. Again, your PCFs are repeated down there. There you go. You got what the asterisk was. I was wondering that on the last couple, and it's just sitting there to tell you something about parents. No idea. Legal gobbledygook continues on the back. And then, of course, we've got our nice box art of Dial Tone using his eavesdropping equipment to listen in on the situation. Again, number 149 in the line, and you've got that Joe colored insert in the back, the removable piece of cardboard. All right, that's enough about the box. Let's get that out of the way. Gee, doesn't he look swell, fellas? There's Jack Morelli right there, the dial tone, listening in with that cutting-edge new eavesdropping equipment, updated for your modern G.I. Joe collection. Anyways, we're going to read his file card, which is a very dated piece of material, but we're going to get through it together, you and I. Read that file card, the absolute testimony and lore on this cutting-edge technological wonder that is dial tone. So here it goes. Let's get that up there. Ba-dow. Dial tone. Communications. File name Jack S. Morelli. His primary specialty is radio telecommunications. His secondary, infantry. He's from Eugene, Oregon, and he's an E4. Dial tone built his own crystal set when he was 10. By 14, he was part of a CB net and had his own ham station by the time he was 16. Dial tone made all his own equipment, buying parts with quarters, earned bagged in groceries. He saw the Army as a means to furthering his education in his chosen field and quickly found that instead of a stepping stone, it was a goal in itself. Manning a radio in the field wasn't just passing time, it was a job with a purpose. One of the scariest things that can happen to you out in the field is to lose contact with your base. That means you are alone. No artillery support, no airstrike, no medevac, no extraction, no nothing. The cavalry ain't coming until the man with the radio tells them to. All right, so I kind of joke about a little bit about how outdated this file card is, sure, but the job is the same, and they describe it well. They are right. A radio operator is critical in the field of battle for soldiers, of course, for obvious reasons. The challenge is that equipment for the radios and the tech that we use today was not well anticipated back in the 80s when these Joe figures were originally designed. So let's go have a look at some of that kit and then get into our head to toe. Okay, so before I go over our boy Jack or Dial Tone's kit there, we're going to have a little look at the box flexibility. Just something I've been noticing a lot more with this wave is just the joints, despite, even though I put them through the hairdryer, you can really feel that ratchet of the joints a lot more now. Dial Tone is an exceptionally well put together kind of vibe for the articulation and posability, with the exception of just where the vest kind of hinders. If they had brought it up just a couple of millimeters more, you would get more. But he's got some really cool posability overall that I'll cover in the head to toe more or less. But just this is how he comes out of the box. He comes with his beret attached. Not attached, sorry, like on his head when you get him out of the box. That is removable. I do count that as a piece of kit. And we'll look at it the head to toe, but for a moment, when I got him out of the box, I thought, geez, did they sculpt him with the beret on? Did I forget to check that out prior? Because it was on very snug. Very good fit. So let's have a look at Dial Tone's kit, and remembering that he is a radio operator, communication specialist for Joe. So really, they've kind of upgraded him to be more a broader strokes EW guy, electronics warfare guy. So we'll get some of the minor kit out of the way first, of which he really doesn't have much minor kit here. The most minor piece I can think of is this little knife that he's got there, and we'll try and get the... we'll just grab something to show that off on the back. Orange seemed to show up well the other day, so we'll do that. But there's the little knife, and we'll put the pictures up in the corner there. Just a small, humble little, nothing fancy blade that goes into his boot, which onto the left side boot, real low. It was almost, I thought for a minute they didn't give him a place to put it, but they did. And it's here. It's a very tight little squeeze fit. There you go. All right, so we've armed him with a knife. Now he has no pistol. No pistol for this, whatchamacallit there, secondary weapon for him. What he does come with that doesn't detach off, and I'll mention it now, is there even another little radio strapped to his leg. We're going to talk about that for a second. It's at this point, this was one of the pieces of kit that I was like, okay, but why did you do this with him? I understand you want to put something on his leg, right? But you've already given him a big ass radio. You've given him a listening device. You've given him a modern cell phone, and you've given him a throat mic and earpiece. At what point does he need a small little CB radio? That'll show up on your guy, and I hope it makes you think. Anyways, the rifle we'll get to will give you this little spy satellite listening device, the acoustic device. I don't know what they're called. I could see this being a repeat piece when we get to Psych Out and Night Force Psych Out and things like that. Again, I'll show that up in the corner so you can get a better look at it. But a nice little handheld listening device. You can see him using it there on the side of the box art there. No problems. And yeah, he's clearly using that in conjunction with the earpiece in his own ear to listen and monitor the enemy means, which is great. Love that little piece of kit. Nice little ad. Great. All right, this cool little gun. I got to give it credit. The last couple of new Joe guns have been interesting, more so than I'd say the Cobra ones. But this is the new one that they've brought out for dial tone. Not sure of the make. Don't really care. Does it have the removable mag? Yes, it absolutely does. That is the thing. But it's also got a housing, of course, for the cell phone, which I'll now also get into, which slides in thusly. Right? And so there you go. This is in lieu of having a fancy optics, say E-Attack laser, Pack 4 laser designators all over the thing, whatever. You know, we went with something a little bit more let's say creatively modern in it's utilizing existing technology in its best way for dial tone, right? He's recording while he's doing the combat. He's zooming in on with that phone feature. There's just a lot going on there with the phone feature. I thought it was a brilliant ad. All right, we'll get back to that in a little bit as to why else I think it's a brilliant ad, besides him taking all the selfies he'd ever want. You'll notice there is no selfie stick included with this kit. But we've also got this backpack, and there it is with the folded out. I'll do it on this side because on the other side I'll be showing you pictures of it from other ways, right? So you've got that collapsible laptop, really just reporting. Looks like wavelength data or something like that. It's not bringing out techno communications. You got to figure all the comms are encrypted here, and that's the way they're kind of doing it. You got some dry brushed tech going on in there. You could probably slip his phone in there if you're afraid of losing it. You know, I don't think his listening device would fit in there very well, but close that up, you know, and that's something we didn't have in the original. I had this guy when he was a kid. It was all gray. I used to think this backpack would allow him to talk to space. It was so big, and it still is. Like that, they've incorporated that wire frame. They've kind of broken this up into two different colors. You've got your brown leather, and then you've got your metal, right? They retained the swing mic that would go in front of Dial Tone's face back in the day, because that was how he would talk to everybody, right? Because back in the day, we didn't have the throat mics and the earpiece for him to show on the characters, so we went with that, right? And it made sense back then. Now, because of this grenade and the way that this kind of rides up, you know, it's hard to see it low. It almost looks like it's trying to be an eyepiece, which, you know, does not make sense. But there we go. In the up position, it makes just as much sense because, like I said, he's got throat mic and earpiece, like Quarrel in the Night Force set that we saw come with Falcone. All right, so that's his kit. Again, getting into the cell phone, on that detail, you've got your play, your pause, and just a little bit of detail on there. And then if we were to take that off, as you saw in the photos, hopefully at this point, there we go. Just stand him up. He's on a bandana here, so his balance isn't really an issue. It's just the ground he's on. But if we were to turn that around, you can see that it's got the little camera LEDs, probably a little LiDAR camera, and all the modern bells and whistles for that phone, right? Got to figure it's an iPhone of some sort, you know. And I do like that as his new optics. It does make sense for him, and I figure this is the guy relaying all the battlefield information up the chain through what he's feeding through that big data bag on his back there, right? So this has to take on some sort of new role in Joe because the modern communication factors changed so much that these radios there's just no use in something that big. So you need that to have a few different rules, and they've done a good job in making it mysteriously relevant still, and keeping the modern feel with that throat mic and earpiece. Yeah, you'd figure it kind of ruins some concepts, but it works with them as well. So we're going to get into the head to toe next. I forgot to run this guy under the dryer for the upper body, so I'm going to do that. And then we'll talk about what you're getting with this buck and give him that inspection, that play grade, that tack grade, that je ne sais quoi, and then get out. All right, so let's go have a look at the head to toe. Okay, so you could argue that dial tone's name is something that it almost will lose its common understanding over time, because dial tone referring to landline phones and the lack of connection between two numbers, and what you would hear as it was waiting to connect. I don't even think we get that with cell phones anymore. In the modern age, I don't think we get that annoying dial tone. Nobody likes dial tone, right? Nobody likes a dial tone, but this dial tone, this one's pretty cool actually. So Jack here, he's got that classic, almost like I was joking about the 50s kind of appeal with that face sculpt. I've gone with the beret off so you can see that hair that he's working with there, and a very classic 50s kind of appeal. Like, I mean, the closest thing we've seen recently to something like this would be Tony Stark and a lot of the old Shield-based stuff. Sorry, not Tony Stark, but Howard Stark, the young Howard Stark look. Who else can we think of? Not Bing Crosby, but gosh, I can't remember not Hugh Grant, all the old 50s actors with that nice little mustache. He would work well. It's a very military tight mustache for sure. I do like the eyes. They're stern looking, and they're almost squinted a little bit. And then the good paint deco, great haircut, that high and tight with that fade. And then just like with the Saw Viper, we will have a little bit of head articulation issue upwards because of the square back flat cut. But again, just like with Coral, you can see now they're putting throat mic and earpieces into the sculpts of the neck now. So the neck has a difference between some of them as well. We've got this strap that rides freely over there. I'm sure a lot of people will work to take that off, because it just kind of, as I showed earlier, it does interrupt a little bit with the seating of the mic on the backpack, just because of the way these ride up a little bit. You can slide them down to the side a little bit, but they'll ride back up over time. He's got an extra mag on that chest rig, and he's got what looks like pistol mag pouches for a pistol that he doesn't carry, and it's fun. I'm kind of glad they didn't just freely overload this guy with a pistol as well. But a pistol probably would have made more sense than the radio on his leg, which we'll get to. I like the vest. It's not it's not overloaded with a lot of pouches. It's very simple, plain. It looks like it's doesn't even carry plates, which means he probably doesn't have any body armor under here. This is just a frag vest, which means it's maybe got some extra padding to stop fragment from rocks and maybe a little bit of grenade shards at the max range if they got to them, right? But not much. It's not stopping bullets. And then a little lower cut than it should be, I think, if they wanted to get that max bend out of the character, right? On the arms, you've got on the right one, you've got a slip down pouch there that you can take on or off. And this is replacing the old gaudy tech that had no real logical explanation to it on the original figure as well. But we do get a bit of tech on the wrist gauntlets there, and some nice padding as well. I'm not sure which arms they're reusing here, but it looks like Airborne or somebody. It's a nice looking arm. There's the patch they wanted you to see there, whatever patch that is. Hard for me to tell. Looks like some sort of dragonfly lightning bolt monstrosity. I'll figure it out later and probably write it down on the video what it all says. And then he's got his little GPS or Timex watch on this wrist. That again is another separate piece that can slide up and down if you don't like it or you want it on someone else. don't see there's something rubbed into that watch face. There's something applied to it, but I can't make out what it is. And then, yeah, right there, I can't make out what that is either. Some tactical gloves with the extra Kevlar protection. Okay, so down here, he's got this little pouch, and of course, I'm showing it. It's for that phone. Just be careful, guys, when you get them. It's not completely enclosed. See how the phone just stuck to my thumb? That's awesome. It's not completely enclosed, and it is very floppy. If you heat this up, it's going to become like a piece of drool just dripping down. So I would avoid heating that if you plan on using it. But you can see the cell phone fits in there. I could see it, easily. You're moving it around the shelf and you flicked it out and didn't notice, right? Like that. So just be careful of that little piece. He's got some nice pouch work. I do like the belt on this. Simple black tactical pants made sense. And I've talked about the boot knife. And these boots are fine. They're a bit overloaded with buckles and not any color. And I think color would have actually served these boots better than just leaving them like that. But they've used up most of their deco budget on this guy, from everything from the thighs up at that point. Knee pads are cool. All right, like I said, this disposable radio gimmick, right? Doesn't come out. This feels a little not well thought out because, I mean, like, hey, great, dial tone, you've got comms for everybody. You can give radios away at this point. I get it, right? We'll put that beret back on there and we'll move off. But that's a fine buck overall. I do enjoy this figure, and the way that the kit loads out, like I said, we'll slap that kit on. You'll see I'm not going to struggle with anything here, right? Putting the pack together, boom, boom. Turn them around, just make sure it's lined up. Oh, look how simple that slid in, and that's snug, baby, right there. Snug, 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 snug. All right, nobody likes you, dial tone. Okay, so we'll put the rifle together, get that balance, even though I've got it sitting on my bandana from my last tour. All right, we got that there. Yeah, not the best set design, but I thought it looked good last night, so I left it. All right, there's the gun on there. Look, no problems getting that phone in. Look how quick that happened. And then his extra listening device, for which we have no other place to really put that but in his hand. And that's it's an unfortunate but not horrible detail. It's a cool piece of kit. I'm glad they threw it in there. But I wish there was something better to do with it. Same as this. I'm not going to like seeing that happen. Stop looking through your microphone, dial tone. All right, there we go. We'll just make it like that. Now it's pretty clear. He's talking into that radio. All right, and we'll push up that gun. Oh, I didn't put the trigger finger in there. Dial tone has been reserved. All right, there we go. Huh. There's our dial tone. So it's, I think that's more than enough to get into a play grade, tack grade, tack grade, play grade, then the je ne sais quoi grade. What do you guys think? Let's do that. So for a tactical grade, right off the bat, I am going to go ahead and give this thing 5. Why? Because it's science fiction, but it captured all the major needs as far as what dial tone is there to accomplish. The dated file card speaks of technology that goes back as far as the 60s, like working with a crystal set and a ham radio and all of that other stuff just doesn't work in our modern understanding of communications technology. In order for Hasbro to do their job, this backpack had to stay. There was nothing they could do. You needed this in order for that to be dial tone. It would have been the first thing everybody would have gone off about, right? But what they did was they made this functional in addressing what purpose will this serve. So they've modernized the comms device to give this a computer feel, so he can do electronic warfare like jobs that go through the comms signals, encrypted radio frequencies, all that other stuff. They've updated this pack to make this relevant again, where it should have been irrelevant through date. They do it again by giving him a cell phone, not the listening device. The listening device was adding to his role, right? Now he's not just a communications officer, he's also doing spyware stuff, right? He's homing in on signals on the bad guys and listening to their conversation. He's doing electronic warfare psyops and OPSEC kind of stuff that wasn't really thought about back in the day when they first did up Mr. Morelli here, or when they did Resolute and did his daughter. I think they were, was it daughter or sister, Jill Morelli? That was the other dial tone. Anyways, I think they were starting to delve into the fact that the communications officer needed to evolve, and they started giving him this stuff. But the cell phone was the greatest ad, just because it's just acknowledging the fact that, hey, look, we've come leaps and bounds as far as our communication technology. And yes, it would only make sense to utilize this for a few different things that would serve a soldier well, right? And so they've given it as a rifle mounted radio. Clearly he's going to take a lot of selfies like all the soldiers I ever knew. But it mounts on the rifle, it mounts on the hip, and it is relevant to this character. More so than his name is. So I'm going with a hard 5 on that tack, because that rifle incorporates some of this tech, and it really becomes, he is all about his role, and it's shown very well. The knife is irrelevant, but everything else really works out well. I think this is probably one of the few 5s I've ever given on attack, but I have an asterisk next to my 5 saying you had to sci-fi the shit out of this, Hasbro, and bring it back to reality, and they did a good job. Well, don't go getting a swell head there, dial tone, and take selfies of it. And like I said, probably the only person in the world that likes a dial tone is a Joe fan, right? Everybody else has learned to hate dial tones. Anyways, on the Je ne sais quoi grade, as far as what this guy's got going for him, I feel like I've already rewarded their modernization of his obsolete kit and changing his roll around. So that'll just carry over to the Je ne sais quoi grade and say that they also took kit away that made sense, as far as the gaudy patches or of steel tech that made no sense, things like this. But they didn't really go too crazy with the design. They kept it nice and humble. So I'm going to give it a 4 for the Je ne sais quoi on this, because I think what they did is they dialed dial tone down. And then on the how he was represented, he's not a loud looking steel character, you know, of all this tech. He's actually a very plain buck with a lot of relevant good tech placed in the right places. And I think they've done a very tasteful job of this guy. And I don't think I gave enough credit to this head sculpt and just how well that whole image looked, right? The way that it worked with the beret. He's got such a secretive ComSec officer look to him, you know, that I think they've really accomplished it. So this is probably the highest graded figure I've done in a long time for this kind of a review. Am I surprised? A little bit. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. I was hoping I would, but I thought I'd pick up more faults with this, but I really can't find a whole lot of faults on dial tone. If there's paint app faults, they're not obvious. If there's, you know, functionality issues, I haven't come across them. If there was hinge issues, I didn't see them. Overall, a regular price figure. He's not an exclusive. Very satisfying, and it gets my hopes up that I'm going to like Leatherneck as much when he shows up here. All right, so guys, that's going to do it for today's tactical perspective on number 149 of the series. G.I. Joe Classified Dial Tone, a remarkable figure, probably my favorite. Well, it is my favorite of this wave, but it's my favorite Joe for the last several outings so far. Just a strong figure. I hope you guys get your hands on him real soon. All right, take care, guys. We'll see you on the next Tactical Perspective.